Hello, this is Elisha, and my blog is simpledeveloper.com. You can always stop by and say hello, or you can contact me through Twitter, or through my blog, or through the comments. Now, in my previous video, I showed you also to set up the environment for building Android applications. In this video, however, we are moving a step further. We are going to build a functional application. So, I hope you're excited, just like I am, and you're ready to do this. So, just a recap. In order to get started building Android application, you need a few things. One, a Java runtime environment, and you can download that from the internet for free. You also need Android SDK tools, and you also need an IDE, or integrated development environment. Not just like Eclipse, you can get any other IDE that is functional. That being said, the last thing you need is an ADT plugin for Eclipse. Now, as I explained in my previous video, you can download a bundle that comes ready for use, and that's what I recommend. Now, let's get back to building our first Android application. So, please start your Eclipse IDE and let's get going. The first thing we do is to create a project. So we go to File, New, Android Application Project. Again, as this might be your first time doing it, you might find it that you have to go to Other, and then under Android folder you can get to Android Application Project, and then after that you want to fill in the name of your application, and I'm going to call this YouTube to-do list. As you can see, everything else is pre-populated for you, except you need to change the package name. In this case, I'm going to call my package name Simple Developer, or Simple Dev to make it shorter. So as you can see, that's all you need, and you can leave the rest, the way it looks right now, or you can change the theme by saying I want hollow duck, and then click next, and then also click next, and just leave the defaults and click next. Then you want a blank activity, click next. Okay, as we wait. Now inside here, I would recommend you that you change these from activity main to just main. Okay, I like it doing that because it makes it look easier. Now click finish. If you click finish, a project will be created for you, and that's what we'll be looking at next. Okay, should be done in a few seconds, and here we go. See, after the project was generated, as you can see here, this main.xml file was displayed in the editor. That is not the only file that we will need right now. We will also need a file called mainActivity.java. So if you can open those two files and just have them open here so that you can access them. Remember, mainActivity.java is located inside the project package that you created. In this case, Simple Developer.youtube to-do list. And then the main.xml file is found inside layout folder, which is inside resource folder. So it is resource and then layout, and then you find the main XML file. Now we will be looking at these two files as we go. As you can see, there are a few things that have taken place already here. We have a class called main activity that extends activity, and just so you know, all activities that you create will extend the activity class. So all activities that you create are subclasses of the activity class. Inside the main activity is onCreate method. This method is called every time you create an activity. And then we have something called setContentView. So we inflate the view by passing in main, in this case R, which is resource.layout.main, and as you can see, this is the resource layout main. And what is that supposed to mean? That is the same as what we saw here. This is exactly what we saw inside here. So we are referencing this main file, which is the main file, inside our onCreate method. Now I'm going to delete this. Don't worry about it, because there's nothing wrong with it. So we're just going to get rid of that, and since we don't need this, we'll go delete that as well. Now remember, if you run this application right now, it will work and it will display hello world. See, because we have the text view and it will show hello world. Why are we saying it will show hello world? Because there is a value here associated with the hello world. And if you look inside values and you look inside strings, not styles, I'm sorry, strings, you will see hello world, and hello world has a value of hello world. So that is what will be displayed, but we don't want to worry about that right now. So we will close those. Now let's get started. In building our application, we want to enable people to enter text, and after they enter text, they will be able to press a button, and once they press a button, they'll be able to see their to-do list items listed. Alright, that is pretty easy. Well, maybe not very easy for if you're starting out. So what we will need is to clean this up. We don't need this right now, and we will go ahead and say we use edit text component. Alright, sorry about that, a little bit freeze of it. So we'll say edit text, and we'll close that, and then inside edit text we want to say Android and pass in an ID, and then say pass in something called my edit text, and then we want to set the width and height, layout width, and then we'll say fill parent, then we'll say Android layout height, and we'll say wrap content, and then remember, this is the edit text area. This is an input text area where people will type in their content. So we'll say Android text, we'll say add a new to-do item. That's it. So we are done with that. So the reason why we are using an ID here is because we will want to reference it from within the onCreate method. So we will use the like this r.layout.something. Alright, so we will need the ID to reference that component. Now the next thing is the list view. Remember, we are having a to-do list here, so I hope that makes sense and it's not confusing. So we'll say Android, we pass in an ID as well, and we say at plus ID, then we say my list view. Okay, and I'm going to go back here and fix an error, so I'll say plus, okay, and then we'll say set the layout width and set it to fill parent. Okay, and then we also say Android layout height and say wrap content, and we are done. So we have completed the setup for the layout, the way the app will look like. So this is how the way our app will look like. We will have a text, edit text area where people can enter the text they want, and then we will have the list view that will list the to-do items that people want to save and display them. So remember to keep this in mind. My edit text is a variable that you define. It's an ID resource, and you can use it to identify that. And my list view, you can use it to identify this list view. So we are now going to move on to the main activity, and where we will do some really incredible stuff. So just from inside that on create method, we are going to say, okay, I want to get reference to edit text, and you call this my edit text is equals to do a cast of that, okay, and then say find view by ID, and in this case we will say r.layout, not rather r.id dot my edit text. Okay, once you have done that, remember you'll see some errors right now because it says there are multiple markers or something like that. But once you import edit text, again you'll just over it using Eclipse, which will show you that. You'll just say import that, and the error message should disappear. Okay, let's see what could be the error here. Create field my edit text in type ID. Always, we can always go back and check if there's any error. So what did we call it here? My edit text. Looks good. The next thing we need to do is create list view, my list view. And then we also have to cast this by passing in list view, then say find view by ID, and then we say r.id dot my list view, and then we finish that. Now we also need to import this list view because we have not imported it yet, and let's try saving this and see, and there you go. So the errors have gone. What we just see here is trying to say, okay, you've not used those two references that you just made, but we will use them very soon. Now the next thing we need to do is we will be storing our list items in an array, right? Using an array sounds like a pretty good idea. So that being said, we'll go ahead and create our array list, and it will expect strings. So we will call these to do items, and we will say new array list which takes in a string, and then it will say that is it. Now again you will see some errors here, and it will say import array list, and once you do that it will take away that the errors. Now in Android, if you want to to bind the to-do items to the list view, because basically what we are saying is we want to store the to-do items in an array, and then we want to display them in a list view. What we will do here is create an array adapter. So we will say array adapter which takes in a string, and we can call it AA is equals to new array adapter which takes in a string as well. Now in order to finish this, we have to pass in this keyword, and then we'll also have to pass in something like this: android dot r dot layout dot simple list item 1, and then once we finish that, we also need to pass in the to-do items. Okay, once we do that, we also need to import array adapter, and that should be straightforward. And again, that takes away the errors. And so basically what we have said is we will pass this, the object, and then we will just pass in the second parameter here, which is android.r, which is resource.layout.simple list item 1, and then we pass in the to-do items that we just created earlier, we defined. Now, in order for this to work, we have to set the array adapter. So to do this, we will say my list view dot set adapter, and then pass in the adapter or the array adapter. That's it. Now we're almost done here, so I pray you be patient with me. Now, normally, if you've done any web development, you probably know about event handling and what happens when someone clicks a button, or what happens when someone uses a mouse click or something like that. So just like that, we will be able to and by the way, we will need to set this as final, and we will also need to set this as final. And so, as I said, we need to set an on-click listener, a listener, so that when someone presses a button after typing the text, the content of that input area will be collected and stored in an array, and after being stored in an array, it will be displayed in the view. So let's do it. So we will say my edit text, because we are setting this on the my edit text, because that is where the content is, that's where the user will be interacting. So we'll say set on key listener, and this will take a new object, which is on key listener. And once you do that, you can define it, and so inside there we will define a boolean method. So we'll say public boolean on key, and this public boolean on key will take a view and an int for key code and the key event. Okay, so it's to be listening for a key. So if someone presses a button, it will listen for it, and once it does, after listening to that, it will know what it is doing. Again, just from Eclipse, you just over all the error messages, and it will show you what to do. And so you have to import that, and we probably need to import these two, but okay, don't worry about that, we'll fix that later. Now this one obviously needs to return something, because it is a boolean method, the boolean type, return type. So we'll go ahead and say if event.get action is equals to key event dot action down. If that is the case, we want to check and see if, sorry, that's uppercase, if event dot sorry about that. So we want to make sure that if holy, what I just forgot that up there. All right, I'm going to show you here. So we want to make sure that when someone clicks that, we want to see if the key code is equals to it's equals to the key code that the D-pad center. So we are saying if key code code is equals to key event dot key code dpad center. Okay, if that is the case, we want to handle that. So basically what we are saying is, if someone clicks that center button after typing the information, basically what we want to do is get the information that they typed in, and we'll be like to do list, or rather to do items dot add. What are we adding here? We are adding to zero area, to the zero index. We are adding my edit text dot get text, and then we are set to toString, right? So once we have that covered, then we can come down here and say we want to notify the view, the list view, that there has been a change, so more items have been added. So to do that, we just say my list view. Actually, to do that, you have to use the array adapter. So you say aa dot notify data set change, and finish that. And then after you finish doing that, you just need to set the input area to to empty. So you say my edit text to an empty string, my edit text dot set text. So that's what you do, and return true. Okay, now if that doesn't work, then return false. Remember, this is a boolean method. The return type is a boolean, which is a true or false. So that being said, we are actually done. What we need to do though is we have to fix these errors. Okay, so to fix the errors, let's see here on key listener, there is an error here. My edit text, there you go. Okay, let's save this, import some stuff. Okay, and a few more imports. Okay, let's save this. Okay, I'm trying to see what could be the cause of the error there. Okay, so we have finished it, and basically what we did was attach an on key listener to the my edit text reference, which we have here, and then after that we just wait for a key, and when someone presses the key, which is the action down, if someone presses it down, we check to see if that key code that is returned is key code dpad center. Okay, if that is the case, we just get a text, and so when someone presses that key code dpad center button, we just take the text that they entered, make it into a string, and add it to the array. Okay, this is a to do items array. Once we've done that, we use the array adapter to notify the list view that there has been some changes. Then after that, we clear the text area and let the people use it again to enter more stuff. So that's all the code you need for now. And again, all we needed to modify was the main java.xml file, and then the main.xml file. That's all we needed, and now we can actually run this and see a working application. Okay, let's do this. So you click the radio button and it will pop up there saying Android application, and we will see that, and we will wait for a few seconds here. The emulator should get started, and our app should be loaded up. So if you don't mind waiting, and there is our application. So this is the emulator, and you can now type in a few items. So let's delete this placeholder text and say for example go, alright, something like go around there, do, and then if you press this button, press that button, you get that, and then jog now. Let's see, jog now, jog, jog more, sorry, jog next. Sorry, I had bad typing there. Jog next. Next. What? And that's all. Next, and thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you for watching. Right, so there you go. And where is that? Am I typing the right one? YouTube. Thank you for watching. And then you press this is the D center button, right here. So if you press it, so as you can see, we have a to-do list here now that works, and it looks pretty decent, right? I mean, you can improve on it and do more stuff to it, and that should be really fun. So all these buttons that you can use, it's like an Android phone that you have or may not, but pretty simple stuff. So what we did was straightforward, just designed or actually what you'd say is created something inside the main.xml, the edit text area and the list view, then used an array, made some references to the IDs using the ID resource folder, and then used an adapter to bind the array to do items to the list view, and then we set an event handler on my text edit, so that when people enter text and they press a certain button, the text is added to the list and displayed. So I hope you really had a lot of fun here, and if you have any questions, please let me know and I'll be more than happy to help. Alright, so thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon, and please remember to subscribe. Bye bye, and have a good day.